Hi guys, Jarrod here, and today we're going to do just a very quick video highlighting the previous and next gen controllers. I thought this would be kind of neat, something different, and this way you don't get to see my ugly mug. So yeah, let's go ahead and start talking. Before we go too deep into all of these controllers, I just wanted to make note that no, I am not showing Wii or Wii U, primarily because these two platforms have always been like exactly the same. So there we go. Okay, so we'll start with Sony's only because that was the controller I did not like last gen. So as I grabbed the 360. So this controller has basically been the same since the introduction of the Dualshock. You can tell it's really well used. Since the introduction of the original Dualshock on the PlayStation 1 way back when, this form factor has remained largely the same. It was changed to introduce these triggers, which I never really liked. And they also have, of course, the PlayStation button. But everything else on this controller is identical to the original Dualshock. Of course, it's a little bit lighter, though. Although this is the Dualshock 4, so it has the rumble in it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's the exact same design, but it's small. It doesn't fit too comfortably in my hand. It's all right, but for prolonged game sessions, I much preferred this bad boy right here. I do have the black one, but I put it back in its box. As you can tell, look, you can barely see those little ridges anymore from years of playing on this thing. This was probably my favorite controller design of all time. It had phenomenal triggers like the Dreamcast did. It had great L1 and R1 buttons, or left bumper and right bumper. The Xbox button just felt much, I don't know, much better than the little PlayStation button, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I really like this. I thought the placement of this was genius as opposed to this, because your hand was just too close. You know, you have one hand here, one hand there. This is just, they were just too close together. I didn't find it ergonomically as comfortable as these. Also loved the buttons. The feel of the overall controller was just great, except of course, everyone knows what I'm going to say, this thing right here. For fighting games, for shooters, this just wasn't great. And well, they did do a remodel. I have a bunch of these. This one's like brand new. My goodness, I like never used this. Everything on the controller is exactly the same. As you can tell, you've got your you've got your plug for your play and charge kit, just like on the other one. You've got the headphone jack, same deal. So that was something else. Like there was no headphone jack on this, so you had to use Bluetooth. Although you did have a USB, what is it called? A mini B USB on this to charge the battery. And that was something I never really liked with these, was the the double A's. I know some people love them, that you can just swap it out, but I always never got why they didn't have rechargeable batteries on these things. But anyway, and as you can tell here, the big thing is that D-pad. You see, it's not circular. You can make it circular by just rotating this around, which I'm not going to do because I like it like that. And yeah, as you can tell, that's a real D-pad, whereas this thing, it's this whole circular nonsense. So anyways, Microsoft was making, or at least trying to make, improvements. Same as Sony, this was not the original PlayStation 3 controller. That would be the, what was it called? The 6-axis there. This is the DualShock 3. This is the one with the rumble. The other one, the 6-axis, only had just the gyroscope inside, which this does too, but very few games actually made use of it. And this one has the rumbles, so it's got a little more weight. The other one felt like a toy. So now we move to the next generation, and let's start with my favorite controller design. I just love this. I still think this is probably my favorite controller ever. And with the Xbox One, we've got this bad boy right here. At first, one thing I didn't like, I love the feel. Feels fantastic in the hands. But I found that the actual sticks were just a fraction higher than they were here. For example, there's no way I can do this, I don't think, with one hand. But you see how small that space is. Whereas if you look here, you see, it's bigger. I can get more of my finger through there. And that did take a little bit of adjusting because, like, you take it for granted, but your finger, like, just being up just a fraction more makes a difference. Anyways, look at all this stuff, all this dust on here. My God, I just got the damn thing. Anyway, the button now is just a simple button. It's no longer like this, like whatever, this steel thing that's like coming out of your controller, which is fine. That's good. We've got our, I don't even remember what they're called, these two buttons. They work like the back and start button, except this one is your snap button, if I recall correctly, and that brings up your overlay if you have your TV connected into your Xbox One or whatever. Buttons feel great. Again, this basic design is wonderful. Best new feature though is look at that, look at that, look at the D-pad. It is a great D-pad, one of the best ever, actually. You know why? Because they copied the NES. That's right, this is just a traditional D-pad. There's nothing funky about it. They didn't try to do anything special. It's just a standard D-pad. Now, let's move along here. Controllers, the triggers, you can see, have been really thickened in relation to this one. See the difference there? It's pretty crazy, actually. But they do feel really good, and they like hold the finger. Let me show you here. See what I mean? Like when you have your hand and you want to push down, they've got like that nice curve in there. I don't know if that's picking up on the camera, but they have this nice rigid curve. That makes perfect sense. Anyways, they have a nice hook here that just holds the finger quite nicely. These buttons are okay. They're nothing spectacular, because I keep dropping the controller everywhere. Yeah, these ones are alright. They're nothing, I mean, they work pretty much as well as these guys do. And finally, we have the battery case, which is totally different this time around. And there we go, Duracells. Unbelievable. Now, I don't know how I feel about this, because with this, if you're going to use batteries, like I like the fact that you don't have this thing here, right? This was always a little bit cumbersome in like the sense that there's your hands, right? Your fingers go right there. Whereas this time it's built right into the controller though. My only thing is I'm not a big fan of, like I mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of batteries like that on a controller like this. Like I don't understand why it's not built in, but anyway. We have a mini USB, not mini B, just mini USB port right there. Apparently you'll be able to connect this to a computer at some point, which will be awesome. And then that is your headset jack, I believe. I have yet to actually go online with my Xbox One for gaming purposes. So overall, outside of the elongated little analog stick, which I'm now totally like used to, so that's no longer a big deal. But at first I was like, whoa, what's up with that? This is a phenomenal controller. It really is. Is it my favorite of this new generation? Well, I can't answer that yet because the generation just began. Has just begun rather. But only downside really is this thing right here. The fact that there's still batteries I find is a little bit cumbersome, especially considering it had the mini USB port. Why can't they just have a lithium ion in there and I could recharge it? That might just be me. Weight, everything else is absolutely phenomenal. Now let's move these out of the way and go back to this bad boy. So the thing with Microsoft was they didn't have that much work to do, right? They already had an awesome controller. Sony, on the other hand, had some serious work cut out for them because this was not the original controller for the PlayStation 3. The original one was that boomerang one that everyone looked at and was like, oh my god, what is that? And then they quickly, removed that and put it with this. The thing is, this is pretty much archaic, right? So in comes this bad boy right here. First thing you'll notice right away is the controller is bigger, it's bulkier, it fits much, much more comfortably in the hands. The D-pad itself, notice here, it's all, like it's really hard, you won't be able to notice that, but this is nice and soft, and again, fantastic feel. I love the way they changed just the overall look of and feel of the D-pad. Notice how in here, it actually slides inwards and holds the thumb. The sticks, much better. They actually hold your thumbs this time around. And because the controller is a little bit wider than this one, this actual orientation here, like this with the sticks, actually works. It works phenomenally well because your natural position here isn't this. Notice my hand when I do that, right? This is the natural position to hold the controller, and it's the same deal when you put your hand on this side. You're automatically going to arc because of the way the ergonomics are on, like work on this thing. This is another huge improvement. Notice how it dips down and then back up again, holding the finger perfectly on the L2 and R2 buttons, whereas these, they just slip right off if you went too quickly when you were pressing a button. And also the give on these I never really liked, whereas the give on this is fantastic. You notice? Listen to the sound difference. These buttons work great, L1 and R1. We also have a couple of new features. They kept the PlayStation button pretty much the same. It's not made of that see-through thing. Now it's actually black. We have a headphone jack on the bottom. We have a mini USB port, same as what's on the Xbox One, except this does not have batteries, it has built-in lithium ion, so like that. And this LED I actually think is a waste of space. I know it's because this still has the gyroscope for move, so if you have the PlayStation camera you can actually like use this, but this I actually find cumbersome because if it's if you're playing in, like, say, a dark room or whatever, that is going to shine off of every surface you could possibly imagine, including your legs and other things like that. So that I kind of wish wasn't there, but it's not a deal breaker. The trackpad works surprisingly well. In the games like Killzone, you can swipe left, right, up, down, just to like bring up another menu or whatever for Owl, which you'll know all about that soon enough when my review goes up. We have a share button there, which as soon as you press that, the system will automatically record up to 15 minutes of your last gameplay session, which is pretty cool. At least I think it's 15 minutes. We have an options button, which basically replaces select and start. And it makes it into one button. And we also have the speakers. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing on the Xbox One. This has a very unique rumble feature built in, where actually in the triggers are actually little rotaries, so you can actually feel a completely different rumble experience if the developer programs for it. This uses mainly your standard rumble feature throughout the entire controller, which is what you're accustomed to right now. Anyways, this speaker is surprisingly useful. I thought it was just going to be like, you know, like one or two sounds come out of there. But so far, Killzone's been the most original. Whenever you pick up audio logs, they play directly from the controller. And it's unique because you still have your surround sound going on around you. And then you'll have, you know, just like audio. It sounds like it's further away because this is obviously not a great quality speaker. So I think they actually did a really good job with that. And so overall, I mean, for improvement-wise, there's no question about it. The Dualshock 4 is definitely the winner in terms of overall, you know, like improvement from the previous generation. That being said, the Xbox One didn't really have too much to improve on with the Xbox 360. Now, which of these two bad boys will be my favorite? Well, only time will tell. But right now, I will say this. It's not like last gen. I won't automatically say that this is the winner because, believe it or not, this is actually a phenomenal controller. And so the verdict's out, but both are great controllers for all genres. I think both companies did a superb job, and we are looking at two of the very best controllers ever designed. So you can't go wrong with either one. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I promise you our reviews are coming up soon. Just waiting on one more piece of equipment to begin posting our PlayStation 4 stuff, and I'm still playing Xbox One games, so can't review those yet. So thanks for watching, guys. Be back soon with another video. Take care.